Gentlemen, good evening.
Hello, sirs.
How's it going?
Here we are back for the Tales from the Crucible, episode 2. For those of you who are, do we have any subscribers yet, Don? I haven't even looked.
I think we've got like 4 or 5, so we're good.
Yes.
We're moving along. We're moving along.
Yeah.
So, welcome back to the one and only exclusive Savage Crucible fan show, where we talk about Savage Crucible and their fans, all the artwork involved, whether it's from the toy community, whether it's from artwork itself, the artwork that inspires Savage Crucible, and brings us right to Mr. Frankie Frazetta, the grandson of Frank Frazetta, the most talented artist in our community, the genre that I can possibly think of when it comes to fantasy art.
The true
godfather. He's that's it. He's the guy. You know, he's inspired everything that's been done for the last 50 years almost.
Yeah, he is truly the godfather of fantasy art.
Yeah,
his works have inspired so many different aspects of the fantasy realm, even in the sci-fi realm.
Yes, and let's not forget the sci-fi realm as well.
So
Frankie, thank you for being joining us today, and
thanks for having me.
Tell us a little about what you got going on with yourself and the museum.
Yeah, so I'm Frankie. I'm Frank's grandkid. My family and I ended up taking over the museum after my grandparents passed away. My dad felt like it was his job to push the legacy that they had fought so hard to keep and to grow. Again, their whole goal when they were alive was to allow fans to view my grandfather's artwork. That was something that they always said Grandpa was able to have a very relaxed livelihood of painting because of the fans. So the only way to really give it back to the fans was to allow you guys to come see the artwork. So they passed away. We ended up getting the museum, and we're doing the same thing. It wouldn't be fair for us to not allow you guys to see this stuff that my grandparents fought so hard for. So yeah, we're a small museum up here in PA. We have about 40 original oils, tons of sketches, and each year we're spending more money to acquire more artwork for everybody to come enjoy. So that's kind of the gist of what we do here.
Awesome. I mean, I definitely need to make a trip up there one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
I might be there for a few hours though, so you might have to kick me out. But
we have people come at 10 on the dot and leave at 4 on the dot. So
I can believe it.
Yeah, we like when people are like that because it shows how involved they are. Some people come in for a half hour and leave. It's usually locals that don't know a ton about the art, but we at least try to give tours. But we had somebody drive 24 hours this year to get there. So
I believe it. Yeah, I could.
I mean, I'm driving up to Legion's Con in November. Me and Green might have to take a side trip.
Swing
I'm just saying.
for myself, your grandfather's art, I remember the earliest seeing it, not knowing what it was, but the earliest seeing it was, TV guides, when you do the covers of TV guides from when you did the ads for Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that. And, and then seeing it when I would go to the bookstore, because I guess I'm still a nerd, but when I was a little kid, I was a nerd. And, and I'd see all the fantasy books and, you're pulling off covers and stuff. And I like this cover. It looks awesome. Not realizing it was all the same artist almost every single time. And then my family was big into to cars and hot rods and stuff like that. And when I was a kid, we had somebody, a couple guys that would do a lot of airbrush work and stuff. And everything they did on the trunk of a 72 Nova was the Death Dealer, or it was Conan or something. And so I thought that was just all that was artwork to me. So not realizing it wasn't until I got older I realized, oh, this is all originally from one artist, and and just having it just continue to inspire me and my artwork. you know, as I grew up and tried to do things, and I used to do a lot of oil paintings, and every one of those, like thinking back now when I did it, I didn't purposely do them to emulate like his style or anything.
Yeah.
And I thought about it later on. I was like, it was always like some warrior, like back view of a warrior with like this crazy, you know, background and like, you know, some monster or castle or something, you know, in the middle ground kind of thing, you know, something approaching with, you know, where it's always that look over the shoulder, you know, playing out this whole scene. And, you know, looking back, I was like, that's every bit of that's like Frazetta style, just straight, you know.
Yeah. Seeing like growing up, like you said, the Chevy Novas. I grew up in a area that lowriders were everywhere. So you had like his artwork on every style of vehicle you could find. And then, of course, I ran with the D&D crowd. So there was that one guy that had that van.
That van, I was just
on the side of it. Yep, there was the death dealer. It was paint plastered up right on the side, and yeah. So I mean, your grandfather's work inspired like so many things and so many people. What's it like being a part of that legacy?
It's really weird because growing up, my grandparents, like, we knew what my grandfather did as grandkids. Like, I knew he was an artist. I knew he was a good artist. I didn't realize how good or at least how like legendary he was. Like occasionally, so again, this is his studio. We used to hang out here. This was his man cave. This is where he did everything, between watching ball games, playing SNES with me, or painting his masterpieces. Like, this was the place to hang out. And occasionally people would come in. My grandma would like escort people in to meet him. And those were like the first couple of times where I realized he's obviously kind of a big deal. People are really wanting to meet him that much. Or when I was a kid, Triple H, the wrestler, used to visit pretty often, used to give us tickets. Jerry the King Lawler gave us tickets to wrestling matches all the time. He still messages me on Instagram from time to time. That's when I started realizing, like, wait, he's actually a lot bigger than I kind of expect. But it became so normal in a sense to meet famous people that it just, like, I didn't think anything of it after a while. And even in general. So not until I started working for the business about 2 years ago did I actually go, wait, hold on. Like, he's done everything. Like, he's been everywhere, done everything. He's influenced. And again, I knew he was big. I knew he was a great artist, but I didn't realize just how much he actually had shaped fantasy and sci-fi as it is today. Like, it would be so much different without him. And what's funny too is growing up with him, he was not a nerd. He didn't read much. He read Nat Geo. He read like old books on dinosaurs, stuff like that, or like Dante's Inferno. But as far as like D&D or any kind of nerddom thing or any of the books he even painted for, that wasn't his thing. So growing up with a guy like that, it just, you know, and he also made it to where his art didn't seem interesting. Again, you see it every day, and when you grow up around it and it's just like that's normal to you, you don't really appreciate it. And now that he's gone and I'm helping run the museum, I'm starting to really appreciate it more. And I wish my grandparents had kind of wanted me to respect it more as a kid, but I also appreciate that they didn't. They wanted us to look at grandpa as a normal guy and not somebody you should worship or some like larger than life man. Like, he was just a regular dude for me. So it's weird now. Like, again, people ask me to come hang out on YouTube, and to me, I'm just a normal dude. I had a career before this. I got like a degree in school. I worked in healthcare for 6 years before doing this. So now I kind of got plopped in this in a sense, and it's just a completely different world. And my mind is kind of opened up to a new like route. And usually it's funny too, because when I first started working, I referred to my grandfather's art as Frazetta's art and not grandpa's art, because I didn't want the two people to blend, because Frazetta was not a guy I knew. I knew grandpa. Right. I knew a dude who would just bullshit with me all day long, eating candy and drinking coffee, and not Frazetta. I've met Frazetta once or twice in my entire life. He's a very stern, strict man. It was when, man, I must have been like 10 years old, and I tell this story a lot, but he asked me to draw. Occasionally he would like paint in front of me. It wasn't very often he painted in front of any of the grandkids, like truly. And one day he said, "Hey, can I watch you draw?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." He did. I think he did this with like all the grandkids at one point, but usually he tried not to seem interested in what we did unless we wanted to do it. So anyway, had me draw a pig, and I drew the hooves like a W, like how little kids draw pigs. The hooves, they're little pointy things.
Oh yeah.
It's like, no, that's absolutely wrong. You got to draw it like this. And I'm like 10 or whatever it was, and I just said, "Okay, I'm done. This is not what I want to be doing right now." And that was it. But like looking back, I'm like, wait, hold on. That wasn't Grandpa. That was like Frazetta, the artist came out, the emotional like dude was there. And I was just like, oh, this isn't the nice, like calm, relaxed Grandpa I'm used to. So, but yeah, as far like back to the actual question, it's weird. I'm so, again, extremely privileged to have had him as not only a grandfather, but this dude. Like, it's so cool to me.
It's I mean, from the outside, I think a lot of us forget, we see him, like myself, I seen him as like, he was like a celebrity. He was a super cool guy back in the day, white t-shirts and the Brill cream in the hair, and,
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was like Clint Eastwood, man, and hung out with Clint Eastwood, and then, but for you, he's Grandpa, he's just Grandpa, and that's, pretty damn cool, man. And that's thank you for carrying on with the stuff and keeping stuff alive for the rest of us that are fans, and hopefully we can keep it going for the generations that follow us, that the stuff doesn't get lost. And I don't think it'll ever go away, for sure. His stuff is too good. It speaks on its own.
Yeah.
But man, just big hats off to you for jumping on that and because that's got to be a huge undertaking too. Like not only the responsibility of taking on, like passing on the legacy, but like you said, jumping from one career to another, and like all of a sudden this is your job now. And I and not only to have to make a living at it, but I'm trying to keep it going because it was Grandpa's stuff,
Yeah, it is. It's weird because again, in my old career, it was all about like, let's make the most money to like save for the future, to retire early. And I'm not saying like that isn't part of the plan still, but I feel like the thing that's taking the precedence now is either acquiring new artwork, or again, just preserving the art. And it is weird to, honestly, like I'll admit, if you had asked me years ago when I was in healthcare, if I would sell a piece of artwork to kind of retire, I would have absolutely said yes. I wanted out of that career so badly. And again, and we don't sell art. We had to sell, I think, 2 pieces off the bat, but that was to be able to afford the museum, and there were smaller pieces, but regardless. So we don't sell art, but people tend to get very upset if other people sell the artwork. And I can understand their point of view, but the way I always tell people when they get up in arms about it is, if I handed you one of our pieces of art and I said it was worth $7 million, are you taking $7 million, or are you going to take that piece of art? Nobody, unless they're lying or they're financially completely secure, would they ever take that piece of artwork. So it is weird though that I went from saying like, yeah, because we were struggling off the bat in the museum. Like we were not doing well. We were in the negative every single year up until about COVID. And I told my parents, I said, we got offered like $7 million for a piece. I said, get rid of it. Like sell it. It'll keep us financially secure for the next couple of years. We can keep the rest of the artwork good and safe and hopefully find stable ground to stand on for a while. My parents adamantly said no. They said, we'll do something else. We'll sell, like we'll refinance the house. We'll do whatever we can. The artwork's gonna be the last thing to go. Like we will be in a tent in the museum before the artwork sells. And now that I'm working there, it's the same with me. Like every month I'm like, how much do we have to buy art? A new piece is going up for sale. Can we buy it? Like let's start looking at new avenues of what we can do to either my parents always like crowdsource, like crowdfund to purchase piece of art, because again, it goes towards everybody. So it's kind of like you're all investing in buying the piece of art because we can't afford to buy a piece by ourselves. But whatever we can do, it is weird to see that kind of flip in my mind of like sell it, retire, to now like you can't pry even like a sketch out of my hands. And we have a lot of people come to the museum that ask to buy something, and I have a lot of sketches, but I don't care what it is. I always joke with people when I bring originals to conventions, I'll usually have like little sketches or whatever. And I have so many people at conventions try to buy it. And I always say, if you want to buy it, it's got to be like 5 times market price, so I can then just buy something else, like something cooler. But yeah, it's cool. It's interesting. It's fun that I get to carry on with this and push my grandfather's legacy, because this is what he and my grandmother, especially my grandmother, I don't think my grandpa really, he cared about his legacy, but he was a very humble dude. Grandma was the one who was like, you gotta be this huge dude, like you're good, you are so good at artwork, you're so talented. And honestly, if it wasn't for her, he would not have been as successful as he was. She ran his business, she marketed him. It was all Ellie that did it all. So I remember as a kid too, again, the museum opened up when I was 8. She used to hire my brother and I think 2 of my other cousins, Jake and AJ, to be greeters in there. And that was like, she drilled it into us, like, this is grandpa, this is his legacy, you need to protect this. And especially my brother, he was the one that, as a grandkid, he's the only grandkid that really cared about the artwork, like really cared about it and really studied it. And like, he played a major role in the artwork and the business in the early days. And even when we reopened, he was kind of like the spearhead in a lot of it. So honestly, I'm trying to get him in the business now. He also works in healthcare, and fortunately this kind of fell in my lap at a point. But I want to eventually bring him in, because he is insanely knowledgeable about Frazetta. I feel like I'm starting to surpass him now, but I feel like he has that passion. He's always had that passion for it. Whereas for me, it's like a new thing. But yeah, so.
Starting to get that whole brother competition thing. I know more than you now.
Yeah, it's funny because we do talk about it. I'm like, wait, hold on. No, it's this. He goes, oh, okay. But like 2 years ago, man, I couldn't even name half the pieces of artwork. Like, it wasn't our thing. I didn't even know what most of it was used for. I would walk through the museum and go, oh, this is a cool piece. Like, Grandpa did this for himself, right? It's like, no, he did it for a book cover. What about this one? Magazine, book cover. It's like, holy crap, he really didn't paint much like for himself. It was always commissioned work or freelance work, whatever it was. That's kind of was his thing. But yeah, I didn't know anything. I couldn't have named you which Death Dealer was what, like, because there's 7 of them. I couldn't really tell you which one was number 1 and which one was number 7. And that was it. So,
and correct me if I'm wrong. He did the paintings and the drawings as, like, you know, the work stuff, but he was big on photography, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
That
yeah. And I don't know. I always like to say it was because he had a photographic memory, and I feel like cameras were that parallel to it, and it interested him because it was like, wait, how do these function? Because maybe I can explain how my brain functions.
Right.
But he was obsessed with cameras. Like, he had a whole like bookshelf full of them, and then bins full of them. It was hundreds of cameras, and I never saw him without a camera around his neck. That's all he gave a shit about. So a couple of things. There's cameras, guns, baseball, those, and family. Those were like top 4. Art was like number 10 behind, again, like old King Kong films and stuff like that. Art was the least thing he wanted to talk about, least thing he was interested in. But he also had his own dark room, which I use for 3D printing right now. So he was like fully decked out into photography, and that's, you trade artwork for cameras. It was crazy how obsessed he was with photography. But the other crazy thing is he didn't really develop any of it. He just took photos. Yeah, like, it wasn't like he obviously cared about lenses, but he wanted to learn more about. It was more of like a learning experience for him than anything other than, like, he would never edit the photos because back then digital just became a thing. So there was really no post editing. He didn't even know what a computer really was until I was like, man. So I lived on his property for 17. I was about to be 18 when he passed away. So I knew him for a long time, obviously. And I was at his house like every day if he wasn't at mine. But one day he came over, I was probably 16, and I was like, how can I entertain Grandpa? Because usually I entertain him by playing Super Nintendo with him or something, and that's over at his house. My house is different. So I said, do you want to listen to Sinatra? He goes, yeah, you have vinyls? And I looked like, no, I have a computer. And I showed him that I could YouTube. I said, what song do you want to listen to? He goes, what do you mean? I said, just pick a song. And he did, and I YouTubed it. He's like, wait. What did you just do? So he had no idea technology like that existed. And I swear to God, that was one of the first times I ever heard him drop the F-bomb. He was like, he didn't like person at all, but that time he was like, holy, it was crazy. It was such like, it was a weird experience to me who had grown up around technology to see this guy who you would think would know like something about computers at least, but he had no clue that you could just YouTube a Sinatra or like Stravinsky song and it would just pop up instead of having to go through the vinyl and find the song you want. It was nuts. Yeah.
Very
That's
old school. Very old
Mhm.
school.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you being that you knew, he was into photography and of course his art and everybody in a fan, how do you feel about like seeing people, try to recreate his stuff, with like, I don't know if you've seen like some like stuff in the action figure photography community and stuff where we, take photos that are inspired by, his works and stuff like that.
I think it's great. I think it's so cool. He always said too with his art was that he wanted to inspire with it. That's the whole point of it, was he wanted to kind of create a new generation of artists and get you guys to create. We tell people all the time when you're in the museum, if you draw, bring a sketchbook, just enjoy it, and like take inspiration from it. So same thing when people like reenact scenes, especially the Savage guys with like Warrior Ball, when they put them on like the step or the stones. Like that's so cool to me to see people pose them in the way the art was posed, because not only like you're taking a 3D figure that can be posed in any way, but you're like the thing you care about is recreating the artwork. Yeah. So to me, it's really cool to see things like that. And again, I love seeing people do things like that, and again, taking inspiration from his artwork.
So with the like Death Dealer, he's had comic books, he's had books. Again, inspired by your grandfather. What's your take on their storylines with an iconic character that he created?
I don't think anybody's gotten it right. Like not even close. And it's gonna upset, and so everybody wants Death Dealer to be like the main character, the protagonist, right? He's gonna go through all these like averse situations, and he's always gonna come out on top, whether it's battling like a snake or a wizard or whatever. To me, I don't think that's what he was supposed to ever be. And I don't think my grandfather ever wanted him to be in the limelight. And I feel like he alluded to that in his artwork in a sense, because he always made Death Dealer, even if he was like the main character, he always kind of made him mysterious. And the issue when you make him a main character, he loses that weight, because you have to know about his personality. Then you have to know about his thoughts, how he's going to act in this next situation, and it gives everything away. It's like I think I was talking to the Savage guys about it, but it's like a magician showing his tricks, like how he does it. It removes that from the character. So if I was ever to do my own story, I would have him not be the main protagonist, and there'd be a whole obviously badass dude, whatever. But I feel like every time somebody does that, what it does is make him seem. Actually, a great parallel to that is with my grandfather. Is that my grandfather or my grandmother made him seem larger than life, and then when you met him, she wouldn't let people meet him because she was afraid that when you met him, it would humanize him. It would bring him back down to earth, and then you'd stop caring much about his artwork because, oh, I met him, he's normal, like regular guy. And then that mystique of who the hell's Frazetta, because everybody would always say I expected him to be like this larger than life crazy guy, and then you meet him, he's just some dude that wants to joke around about baseball or whatever. And I feel like that was kind of the same with Death Dealer, is that you have to humanize him in a sense when you make him the main character. He's going to lose fights. He's not going to be the strongest for a little bit, or he'll eventually overcome the bad guy.
Right.
And I feel like that kind of is a great parallel to my grandfather, at least Frazetta, his kind of mystique. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Without like rambling too much or coming up with my own lore on him, I feel like nobody's done him justice yet. The more recent comics, I wasn't thrilled. I didn't read them, but I had friends kind of like summarize, and I wasn't super thrilled with them. I don't know if many people were. But the old Image comics, same deal. Like, it was cool. They were cool. They're fun reads. I just feel like nobody's perfected the death. I don't think any of those storylines has anybody said, "Wow, this is great. This is exactly how it should be." People love the old. Some people like the old books of Ball or whatever, but that was another weird story where his helmet can't come off. That's what grants him power, and that's something my grandfather always said. Like, that's not what the character should be. He is like, he can take his helmet off. It's not what grants him power. He's just a naturally strong dude. But yeah, so I try to, if I ever come up with stories like that, I try to base it off of what I've been told in my life from my grandfather or my dad. And then I try to, again, figure out what my grandfather did with his artwork and why he did those things, and then bring that into a story. Again, he hated that he showed Death Dealer's skin. He hated that, actually. And he tried revising some of the pieces to cover the skin back up. So again, that's, if I was to write a story, it would be more, what do I think Grandpa would want versus like, what do I think I and the fans really want, which would be a cool, like, badass Death Dealer fighting a ton of people thing. I don't know if my grandfather would like that, but yeah, answer the question. I still think I don't think anybody's nailed him yet.
Yeah, I think I tend to think you're right. Like, I've always seen Death Dealers being way more mysterious. You know, I don't want to know like how he feels about something. I don't want to hear him speak. He just shows up, does some damage, and maybe lives, maybe doesn't, and pops up again. You know, I always thought of it more in the line of like the Clint Eastwood, you know, Man with No Name kind of thing. He just kind of blows into town, and he's just dark and scary, and shows up and does some stuff and then leaves. You know, it's just there shouldn't be, you should know nothing about him. You know, I think that's the thing that makes him way cooler, is like, I always liken it to another one that was so cool, is Boba Fett back in the day when Star Wars.
Somebody said the same thing the other day. Yep.
Yeah. It was, you didn't know anything about him, but this guy looked awesome and was mysterious, and like, you know, he just looked intimidating and cool, and, you know, did some stuff and then gone. You know, and that was like that same thing as I always thought, you know, Death Dealer was along that same line. Like, not knowing about it was cool. I don't want to know the backstory. It kind of ruins some stuff, you know, when you fill in those blanks.
He's like, you know, the mysterious unknown force that either helps the protagonist or doesn't. Gives them a little bit of advice and it moves on, or, you know, goes in there, sees the protagonist is failing miserably, helps him out enough, and then says, well, now you're on your own, and off on his way he goes.
Speaking of off on our way, I think it's time for a commercial break.
I think it is. And here we go.
It's almost that time, and, you know, you need to look savage for wherever you go.
Getting ready for that summertime flair right there.
I think that was, she pronounced it wrong. It's supposed to be Savage.
Savage.
This was in Harvey Studios. Somebody called them Harvey over at Toylanta, so now I refer to them as Harvey Studios.
Harvey Studios. Oh my God, that's awesome.
So get your latest Savage wear from Harvey Studios.
So your grandfather seems, he seemed to have been able to balance really well. Like he gave you guys the best of him, but he also gave, you know, the world, you know, this inspiration to move forward and create off of his works. So what is it like to have these figure companies, you know, bringing these paintings that he did to life, you know, in these action figures?
It's so cool. And I tell that with my statue guys too, because my grandfather's art's 2D. You don't like, you could see it, you could feel it, but at the same time, seeing it like in your hands, 3 dimensionally, you get to see them in any perspective you want. It's always awesome to me, and I always love speaking to the artists who sculpt them because I like picking their brain. I like thinking, like, again, there's a lot of pieces where you don't see the characters' backs, like Warrior Ball and Chain, or even Warrior Ball, his face. You don't really see in the painting. And it's how did you do that? What did you think of? Because Kevin and Matt did the Warrior Ball, and I had nothing but raving things to say about that sculpt on that piece because it fit so perfectly. So for me, it's fun to see it. I feel almost a sense of like pride from it, especially when it's done right. And now I'm definitely somebody who's big into QC, and I tend to be a bit harsh sometimes with some of our licensees nowadays. I feel like starting like last year, I started cracking down a little bit, but when they're done right, it's just like, wow, it's so cool. And then when they interpret, we allow people to have their own creative interpretation, and they get to change things a little bit, but nobody ever does, which is like, it's cool. And I feel like fans appreciate that more, but whenever they get to add something little, it really does add to the piece. And it makes me, I feel like my grandfather would like that, because he always said, I want people to create with my, like, from my art and interpret it in their own way. That's what he always cared about. But yeah, it's so cool to me to have stuff like this. And I honestly was not a big toy guy before any of this happened. Like, that was collectible figures, maybe like back in the day when I was a kid with Dragon Ball Z stuff. But now it's starting to really get me into them because I can see the allure to it. And again, all these Frazetta figures, it's like, I need to see more of them. Like, I want more. I want, like, it's so cool. And again, anytime anybody makes something new with his artwork, I'm always so like happy to see it and done in a different way.
It's kind of, I don't know, if it was me, it'd be kind of amazing to see these things, go from these 2D pieces to these 3D pieces to these people, to the people's hands, and seeing what they do with them, telling their own stories, and just kind of adding to the whole mythos of the figures and the characters that that you grew up watching, being born essentially. But what are your favorite collectibles? Like, what do you strive to try to collect?
So I told you guys earlier, but currently it's Frazetta artwork. But that's obviously a holy grail for everybody, including us. We were gonna try to bid on an oil last month, but it ended up selling for $528,000, which is way too far out of our price range. But otherwise, personally, I'd like to say I like to collect art, but I'm still trying to be able to afford most art. I feel like, man, it's tough. Back in the day, pre-COVID days, pre-apocalypse days, it was Magic the Gathering cards. I'd collect all the old, like, the super rare variant artwork, whether it was Judge promos or like any of that stuff. That's what I liked. It was always, I feel like I've always collected something like involved with art. I'm trying to think. Yeah, when I was a kid, it was just kind of like Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering cards. That's kind of what I could afford at the point. Obviously, like, infinite money of the artwork, 100%. I've become working for the museum. I like art. I was a huge art collector fan, but now that I'm into it, it's not really cool thing. And now I feel like figures and toys are going to be the next thing I collect. I'm waiting for Wave 2 to come out because the humans are more my speed. Once they come out, I'm going to buy like all of those guys. So yeah, it's weird. It's definitely an interesting question and a tough one for me because I feel like I love the thought of collecting. I just don't know what to collect because my mind is like, this is cool today, and then tomorrow this is really cool. So I feel like I never get to really pull the trigger on something because I know in a week it's going to be, I want something else.
Yeah, I know that pain. I know that pain all too well.
Yeah.
There's always something dropping. It's like, I don't know. I have squirrel syndrome. It's like, man, this is cool. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
So with what Savage Crucible's done so far with Warrior Ball and Chain and Death Dealer, obviously they have more Frazetta stuff coming. What are some things you'd like to see done personally? Not even that you've talked about with the company or anything, just something like fun for you that you'd like to like have in hand or see in people's hands.
As far as like if I got to pick the next character, people keep saying Jaguar God, and I really like that too. Unfortunately, we don't have the IP for Jaguar God, so we got to figure something out because I would love to see that. I feel like it's kind of the embodiment of Rosetta in a sense. He always did like again Dark Wolf, Jaguar God. He always did that kind of dude. It's very kind of a brutal guy. So that would probably be my number one as far as what I would want next. Or I love the Knights, so like Outlaw of Torn, Defender would be cool. I feel like it's tough, man. Again, that's another question where it's like, how am I feeling that day? Because he's got such a big repertoire that like, if I'm feeling spicy, an Executioner would be sick that day. Like that would be a really cool piece. Or again, if I'm feeling more like wanting a woman, get the Huntress or Cat Girl out there. Or like honestly, what I really want somebody to try to do, there's a piece called Reign of Wizardry where there's this like demon posing like this. It's like Chernabog from Fantasia. But I don't know how the hell you do it because he doesn't have legs, and I wouldn't let anybody think legs because it's supposed to look like he's coming out of flames or something.
Right.
He's not.
Right.
So it would have to be some kind of like posable figure with like flames around him coming out of the flames, which would be sick. But that's mainly because it's my favorite. Like that's my absolute favorite Frazetta piece. But yeah, I would love to see like some kind of like leopard god, jaguar god, whatever you want to call it, character. Just obviously making sure we're not infringing on anybody, or if he wants to dual license, or even some of the Lord of the Rings stuff. He did a really cool Witch King. That'd be a sick.
That'd be awesome to see.
So yeah, again, it like I always wonder that myself, and then I have to sit there and go through the library. I'm like, oh wait, this one's cool. Oh wait, this one would be sick too. And it's just kind of there's so much stuff. Like there's 200 pieces of artwork, if not more than that, to go through and to pick. What would you guys want?
Again, very tough decision.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, if I was just going to pick, so when it comes to like me collecting, I usually try to buy stuff that I know I'm going to use for photos and I know I'm going to use like a lot of and have fun with. So the two big ones that really started up with me is any Frazetta female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just, it's iconic in the look, and it just, having like good female, figures is just, I think, one of the big things like missing from, action figures in general. And we have like a lot of like superhero feminines and stuff, but not any feminine
warrior. Yeah, feminine warriors.
And then the other one is, Death Eaters, or Flesh Eaters. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just,
dude, people really want Flesh Eaters, and it's such a weird pick.
It's just it's because you could use them with so much, they're just like so usable. They're just ugly and raw, and
Mm-hmm.
And they're a figure that could fit in any photo for anything.
Yeah.
You can have them as something that just creeps out of the woods, during modern times, mythic times, hell, sci-fi times.
Yeah.
They fit in any genre that you want to throw them in.
Yeah. I just think they just be really fun, and they're creepy, and I mean, the whole cannibalism thing is always just makes anybody's skin crawl. So.
Yeah, that's again, a lot of people have been saying that one. And as far as like prints and stuff go, it sells okay. It's not a best seller, but I feel like at the convention, I was asking everybody what they wanted, and a lot of people were saying Flesh Eaters. So I don't know if Rob was planting seeds, like slowly kind of planting seeds in people's minds, where it's like, oh, Flesh Eaters. The other one I'd really want is called Devil's Generation, where it's a skeletal mage like casting a spell above his head.
Yes,
that would be sick too.
That's a cool one.
Again, there's like so much stuff.
Yeah.
So, really, it's whatever they want to do next is what I'm curious. I always just like hearing their ideas, and Rob likes input, but I feel like his mind gets set on things, and you kind of just let him do his thing because it's gonna come out great. and he'll eventually get to what I want. So I'm patient with him. He can just, I
Well, I
trust
mean,
him.
it's funny, like, we've already all placed our death dealer orders, and Rob was adamant that, like, no, we're not doing a death dealer for a long, long time, and then lo and behold,
here you go.
He wasn't planning to. I will be honest. We were not planning on doing Death Dealer for a while. The stars aligned in a sense where everybody wanted to start doing Conan. So Rob saw nobody was doing Death Dealer at the moment and kind of took it, and it was the perfect time in my opinion. But yeah, no, truly, he was not lying about that. Death Dealer was like a year or two away from where he is now. But dude, they killed it with him. I feel like people. I'm afraid people are going to start thinking like, oh, he's just shilling for them. But like, truly, oh my god, I couldn't have. I told him. I said, because the Mezco came out, and that was a good one. And I said, try to make it close to Mezco. And he said, all right, let's see. And we just had a lot of talks about soft goods. And he's like, hey, I don't know how deep we can go in soft goods. And I just responded, man, I don't know enough about it. Do what you think's going to work. I'll trust you. And then all of a sudden it's tons of soft goods, chainmail. I'm just like, holy crap, dude. Like, and it's better than the Mezco in my opinion now. There's no way anybody could, in my opinion, could top that, especially at that price. It's unbelievable. I don't think you could do better even with an unlimited range. Like, there's no way. So yeah, that was a crazy piece. It's so nice.
I'll be at Joe Fest, and so I'm looking forward to like seeing it in person.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No.
Oh man, yeah, it's sick. It's so good.
It's so good, so good. I'll be able to see it again here in about a month because I'll be at IshCon with them.
I might be at Ish as well.
Yes.
I'm gonna see if I can get out there. Yeah. No, dude, it's again. I saw photos because he's so gracious with making sure that we like the figure, which we obviously have to approve of everything, but he cares about us like loving it. And even I talked to the sculptor at Toylanta, and I said, hey, how do you feel about the reception it's getting from all the people? He goes, oh, I don't care about them. What do you think? I'm just like, okay, well, it's great. So he's like, okay, that's all I care about. I don't care if they hate it, as long as the Frazettas. So yeah, man, Death Dealer was a weird one. It was just a long process of sending me like skin tones and stuff, and it was fun to be involved like that. And I mean, I keep telling people, like, if you don't like the skin tone I picked it, be mad at me, not them. But
I love the way you explained that on the show. You talked about, it was all about the light reflection and stuff, not about what color it was. And I think you nailed it, dude. I think it's perfect because it gives that more mysterious look to it. So like, depending on how it's lit is what's going to change, how it actually looks. So.
And that's the thing is, I don't want people thinking that I chose this because this is what I want. I'm literally doing it based off the artwork. He was never tan, never anything other than pale. And like, that's what, if my grandfather made him pink, I would make him pink. Like, even if I wouldn't want him pink, that's just what he's supposed to be. But yeah, it's, again, I was afraid the skin tone might be a little bit off, but it was literally perfect. Like, I don't think they could have done it better, but it's such a nice figure. And again, in person, I remember at Zolo, that's when they debuted it, and nobody knew it was there yet. And all of a sudden you just see like crowds going to the booth looking at it. They're just like, holy crap. Yeah. And it was sick to see how excited people were about this thing. And people were getting B-roll shots at Toylanta. People were just asking about it, even if they didn't know what it was. He really, and again, the modularity with him is absolutely insane. Like, all the stuff you get with it, it's literally, I told him, I was like, this is a joke. This is insane what you guys are providing with this figure. And again, I don't think anybody's going to top this figure. There's no shot. And again, I'm proud to be part of the journey. I'm proud to be like, hey, Museum licensed that to these like extremely talented dudes. And to me, it's funny because we've been licensing to him since like 2016 or something, back in the day when he was doing the 3D prints. And my parents, when I first entered the business, they told me about Rob and what he does. And I said, okay, like 3D print heads and stuff. I thought it was like interesting. I was like, okay, whatever he wants to do. He was kind of our guy that would reach out occasionally, say what he was doing, and that was it. He'd go back into like his area, and we didn't hear from him for a little bit. And then they told me he was doing Warrior Ball and Chain, and I said, you need to tell that guy to not do that piece because he's going to get killed on it. Like, it's not going to sell. He's not going to do well. He's going to lose a lot of money, and I don't want that happening. And I love being proved wrong. That is like my favorite thing for me in the entire world, is for somebody to show me that I'm wrong. And he did with Warrior Ball, because people ate that thing up. It was, again, perfect, gorgeous sculpt. They even did the 8 abs.
Yeah.
They could have done the 6 and it would have been acceptable, but they went above and beyond and making sure he had that 8 abs that everybody like kind of attacks the artwork for. But it's so cool how accurate they want to be to the art. And then you saw, you didn't see the cape yet. If you haven't seen Death in person, dude, his cape is nuts. It's, again, they did. It's so sick. So yeah, again, I told Rob too, I wouldn't want anybody else pioneering this for us. Like, even if I knew how to do this myself, I would rather have him do it. They're so good, so respectful. They only care about the artwork and the legacy of it. It's not about the money. Rob likes collecting toys, so he's making the coolest, best toys that he wants, which I think is like, that creates successful business, is when you love what you do and you're doing it for yourself. And I feel like I'm the same way whenever I buy something. That's actually a big reason I probably don't collect, is nothing's ever perfect to me. So I always buy things I can modify. Like any firearms I buy, I build myself, because like the stuff off the shelves is never perfect. And that's how he was with figures. He said, I got into them because nobody were like what I wanted. And he's just building like the best stuff for himself, and everybody else is now buying it. So yeah, again, I absolutely love that crew. I wouldn't be going to 50 shows a year with them if I didn't enjoy hanging out with them and just the experience. And again, we're doing, like, the museum obviously is helping with the legacy, but so are people like him and our other licensees that really push him and create new products. And obviously it helps us with finances through royalties, or I sign with most people to get more merchandise. I don't really care much about the royalties. It's what can I buy from you to supply the museum? Because again, I don't create figures, I don't create statues. So I try to sign with these guys that I trust to make great products that I can then buy wholesale to sell in the museum. And yeah, it was funny. Again, we had like a certain number for how many Warrior Balls we were going to buy. And then I saw them in person and I said, wait, let's like quadruple what we're going to buy, because these are unbelievable. And just the reception they had from everybody was, and again, it's such an obscure character, and it blew everybody away. And seeing the reception of Death Dealer was like, this is what happens when there's a popular character put out, and it was crazy. So I can't wait till he puts a female out, because that's gonna like kill. I feel like nobody's done a great Frazetta female yet. There have been good ones, but I feel like the proportions might have been a little off compared to what my grandfather did, and that's fine. Again, interpretation, you're allowed to do that. But Rob and the crew are all about making it look Frazetta, and I feel like that's what the fans want too. I always hear that when artists, again, they make it their own, fans go, no, I want the Frazetta. I don't want your Frazetta. I want Frazetta's Frazetta. So they're taking their time with the females just to make sure that it is done perfectly, because when it's done perfectly, people are going to absolutely love it. And again, I don't want it if I put that in front of me and I don't feel Frazetta from it, it's like, what's the point of
then it's not Frazetta, you know?
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's a knockoff. All right, that's great.
Yeah, it's just something feels. Yeah, there's no feeling from it in a sense, and I feel like if you guys see the museum, or when you go to Legion's Con, if you come to the museum, I've seen a lot of art in my time, obviously, and there's only a couple pieces that I stand in front of where you like look at it and you feel something emotionally, like it really stirs something inside of you. Almost all of the artwork in the museum will do that. It's nuts. And I feel like not only does the art do that, but like these figures, when they're done right, he like I don't know what it is, but his creation, when it's then imitated perfectly, it also has that same kind of magic to it. And again, that was seeing Warrior Ball, and I don't know, obviously maybe I'm just biased and it's like a personal thing for me, but like seeing those figures, it's like, holy shit, there's something about this that you just like get excited about, or you just feel emotional seeing it and like messing around with it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's when with Robin and what they're doing, with them sticking, as true to the source material as materials allow.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes it more nostalgic, because then it's like you're taking that figure straight from the painting and putting it in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to, whatever your imagination pulled up when you got to see the original artwork. Now you get to do it, physically. You get to physically
Mm-hmm.
create your storyline, with whatever piece it may be. And that I as a toy photographer and a collector, I love being able to do that.
Yeah.
I love, like, my kids coming up and trying to steal my toys, and I get to say, you can't have him, but we can play with him together. What do you think they should do? And
Mm-hmm.
of course, my littlest one wants every one of my figures to dab or something like that. I'm like, no, they will not be doing that. But we can do a fight scene. What do you want to do? So it's great to see those figures and that the passion that your grandfather put into it kind of transcend the artwork into
Mm-hmm.
the collector. And I don't know. That might just be me, though.
No, again, I feel like a lot of people kind of have the same thought, and they echo that. Again, I couldn't have asked for a better reception to Death Dealer. And what was funny too is that Toylantha, nobody knew who I was. I was just a dude working the Savage booth. Like, I didn't identify myself, and like, again, as a dude, like, they didn't know I was Frazetta's grandkid, and they still just talked this figure up. There was nothing bad to be said about it. And then obviously, if I did introduce myself, people were like, "Oh my god!" And then it was just a lot of Frazetta. Like, but to hear what they would say about the figure, not knowing that I'm the grandkid, and obviously not wanting to, like, insult me, because I know some, like, if they know I'm working at Savage, a lot of people won't pull back. They'll say, "Ah, this should have been different," or whatever. Like, I feel like the toy community and figure community are very vocal, which is good.
Yeah.
They're big critiques. But again, nothing. Like, there was nothing. It was nuts. Like, it was so cool. And again, to kind of see it from the background, it felt like I was kind of undercover boss in a sense, where I could really
Nice.
hear what people felt about these things, and it was really cool. And yeah, I could say nothing but good things about those guys. I've never had a bad interaction. They've always been nothing but good and generous and kind
Yeah.
to myself and my family and the museum.
Yeah, that's one thing I say about Savage. I've been impressed with them ever since they hit the scene. I didn't really know too much about them when they were the customizers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I really got to know them when they did the Kickstarter, and then when I got to meet them at Joe Fest last year. And my first interaction with them, the way they interacted with my son, and as much as my son, talked about them afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And just the interaction that I saw them have with him, I didn't see with any other, any of the other toy companies that had been, like, all about. They'd be like, okay, yeah, move on. But they were talking. They would talk with him. And they were, hey, like, kind of pick his brain, say, what what do you think that should do? And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are amazing, and you got my 100% support, now until the end. And it's their whole attitude towards the action figure world and the toy photography world, and anything that they've kind of put their name behind. It's customer first. They want to
Mm-hmm.
make their customers happy, so they are going to make the best products they can and the best and most accurate figures that they can, for the community. And that's amazing. They're, like you said, they're building for themselves. They're not building just to make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I'll show for them all day long. I don't care. I'll say it. I've said it before.
Yeah.
All day long.
No, I can't wait. Again, like, seeing them go from the customizables to the Kickstarter to where they've become, like, where they've gotten in the past, 2 years now, 2.5 years.
Yep.
It's insane. Like they're really taking over that 6.5, 7 inch market. I don't think I had so many people come up to us at the booth and say, I'm gonna like you are the line I'm going to collect now. And it was like they're getting rid of their old lines to now buy Savage. And it's crazy. Again, I don't work for Savage. I obviously license to them, but like it was so cool to know, I guess, that we were a part of that in a sense, however much we helped, if we did help, didn't help, whatever, just like seeing them. And again, even when they just hit the Kickstarter, that was the first time I really talked to Rob and hearing him say like how, other manufacturers might have been trying to figure out what they're doing or whatever. I said, congrats, like people are looking at you. Like that's such a good thing. And obviously Rob's super smart, so he knew that anyway. But to me, it was like seeing this like little kid grow up into something insane and something that I never would have imagined in this short amount of time. But I cannot wait. I kept saying that to them at the booth, like at the end of the year, all of these figures will be for sale. And I cannot wait to see the lines at your booth to buy all this stuff, because they don't bring a lot to the convention to sell. They bring like four or five different Lemurians, and that's it. Everybody's asking about the fish, the Death Dealer, the Elric stuff, the Barbarians. Like God, when those come out, it's gonna be like they're gonna be insane. People have boxes waiting to buy their stuff, and I'm so excited. I just want to be at their booth to watch it. Like it's going to be such a great time to see them go from what they were to now, just like in 2-3 years, to be one of, in my opinion, one of the biggest like 6.5-inch lines.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I have no doubt that that's just going to continue on for them. I mean, because they're only going to continue to improve. They're just starting. I mean, and they're already starting that high. It's only going to go up from there, and they've got such intelligent and talented people, in the works there, that just makes them, fantastic decisions about, not only how things look and work, but, how to present things and how to put things out there and how to get them in people's hands, quicker and, and still turn out, fantastic product. And the fact that they're all just fans anyway, and just, it's just, it's very nice. It's very nice. Don, do we have time for another sponsor?
I believe we do.
Coming to a local game store near you. Step into the world of
The Crucible.
Disclaimer, all ads are free range.
Disclaimer, that was all for fun and entertainment. Please, D&D, don't come after us.
Yes, we're not trying to steal your stuff. We're trying to, show our appreciation of it.
Yes, and it just so happens that Savage Crucible and the Lemurians fit perfectly in the D&D world.
It's fair.
But speaking of photos, let's go ahead, if you don't mind, and take a look at some of the artwork that we see people doing on Instagram. So this is from Mamu's Action Figure blog. One of the members of our Savage Crucible Saturdays. And again, we got together with a group of people that fell in love with this toy line from the beginning. And we've been doing, running every Saturday for almost a year now. Wow. Yeah. Almost a year now with Savage Crucible Saturdays. And the things that, the artwork and the ideas that we see people come up with, because Jason comes up with different themes every weekend, and he pushes us to, go past the limitations we have in our own brains and look at different styles and different ways to present these figures. And I can't wait to get the Barbarians in hand so we can start mixing them up in Savage Crucible Saturdays as well. Because it's not just about the Lemurians; those are just the ones we have in hand. My favorites. I'm kind of biased, but I'm so excited to be able to get the Barbarian figures and these other figures in hands to start creating with them. Looking at Savage Crucible figures across the IG, spectrum, Realm of Toys 89. It's amazing what people can do with little plastic figures.
Mhm.
It's
And
I've always said that's to me is one of the coolest things about the toy photography stuff is it's we take art and create art, and it's this cyclic nature of using art upon art upon art upon art, and I just think it's just not only fun but really cool where you get to see like like me, like I make dioramas, so and Frankie here, this Frankie, Remo Toys Frankie, he has some of my diorama pieces and stuff. So sometimes like he'll have my art, and he's using figures. Well, there's my diorama pieces. Perfect. Yeah. There's a lot of my diorama pieces in there. And, he's using my art, to create art, but he's also using the art from, Savage Crucible, which was somebody else's artwork, brought forth, all to create his artwork. And it's just that cool combining of everybody's stuff kind of coming together to make something else and new. I think it's just really cool and fun and, exciting to see too.
That's a cool shot. Was that first one? Was that the Loose Collector Werewolf?
Yeah, I believe so.
Which one?
That was the one figure I actually almost ended up buying. And again,
Yeah.
I've never bought a figure in my adult life. Yeah, that I was like, damn, that's a really cool werewolf.
Yeah.
Big. Growing up, I was always into horror. My favorite art from my grandfather was always like his creepy and eerie magazine covers between Dracula and the Wolfman. And I saw that, I was like, damn, that's a well done werewolf. But yeah, that's my input for those.
I'm not sure if this is the loose collectible ones or if this is the White William from
I think it's too big to be
Fury,
the White William.
Fury. I don't know. I'm looking at the sculpt and the design.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if it is Loose Collector.
This looks like the Fury Toys William, the white
right.
version one.
Yeah,
because I've got the brown one and I want to get the black one and I want to get the white one because I love
that's actually why I didn't buy them, because I didn't know which color to pick.
Yeah,
so I was like, oh man,
they're all good. Yeah,
eventually I will have all of them. But let's see. Next up, Grizzly _Viking _Gorilla. The way he blends the colors in this.
Yeah, the colors
it just makes everything pop. Yeah. Is Renegade Toys LLC and Grizzly Viking. Now we're gonna try to Pa _Duty. I love these ones. Veterus is definitely one of my favorites.
Dude, those are great. Yeah, that's my favorite Lemurian, like easily. That's the Royal Guard, right? That thing people were asking about that Toylantha. Oh my god.
Hey, looks like a part of my garage right now. These weapons, these translucent weapons they've been dropping, love them.
I call them the lollipops.
Yes, the
lollipops.
lollipops.
Two-tone lollipops.
But it's so cool because now we got fantasy figures with lightsabers.
Hell yes. I only need one more Como sword. I need the fire Como sword. That's the only one I'm missing.
The one?
Yes, I do.
I have the fire one.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh my! You get a second one. We need to talk. This is great. This is that NECA werewolf.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. One of the Savage guys ended up pulling a Foil War ball and chain card.
Yes.
And he was like,
Oh, really?
"Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to take it from you." And then at the convention, he was like, "I was so glad you didn't take it, but I also couldn't not offer it to you." Just like, no. So
Respect.
maybe one.
Respect.
I'm hoping I pull something.
Yeah, I think I've only ever gotten one foil one, and it's a Como one.
I think I got 3 or 4 foils.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, I've only got the one, but I got the coolest blade, so I'm happy with that. Here you go, lightsaber.
Here we go. Perfect.
Is that geek JB? I'll follow him. I'm gonna follow him. Come on, there you go. Yeah, the whole lava flow. We've talked about this diorama. Make a diorama like this.
I may have something in the works for something like that. You may see sometime before the end of the year.
Nice. Oh man, that Royal Guard. He was my favorite before they dropped Veterus and the Shield. The black and white color scheme for the Royal Guard.
Yeah, and what's so cool is like it's with the Savage stuff with the armor being removable, you don't realize how cool they are once you start stripping the armor off. That they're still cool. Without it, it's like whoa. There's a lot going on underneath there, and yeah, it just looks awesome.
This is a really good one.
Yeah.
Again, Veterus. Oh, they did such a good job with him. Well,
yeah.
Who am I kidding? They did a good job with every one of them.
Yeah,
I've got like at least a shelf and a half of like Lemurians, and then my kids got some for Christmas, of course. So I try to enable as many people as possible when it comes to these ones.
That's a nice show.
Yeah. And then we'll go to the actual Savage Crucible Saturdays. So these are pictures from the group themselves itself that uses the hashtag. This is First Strike Figs. Awesome dude. Really good guy. An amazing photographer. But the way he has the Shield's eyes lit up here, he just does phenomenal work. And this was a fun shot to shoot.
Yeah.
Again,
awesome,
my Royal Guard. And this is from Stelly. We have enabled Stelly into taking photos for our Savage Crucible Saturdays, and he does a phenomenal job with these figures as well. Oh my, whose is this? This is how you get the dial work done. I see now.
Yeah, they're like my little Keebler elves, man.
Like Como sitting on the throne in the back, watching over him. It's awesome. Yeah, again, at Realm of Toys. These again, I cannot wait for the Barbarians to get here.
Yeah,
and especially that from some of the ideas I've talked with some of the guys in the chat with the warrior, ball and chain, the ideas that are coming from them for that specifically that figure, I can't wait to see them actually put it out and showcase that during our Savage Crucible Saturdays. I think didn't we talk about doing like this is Marcel's outsider art thing. He was you talked with him at
oh yeah, I talked about that.
Yeah, Toylanta. But doing specifically doing like a Frazetta collab.
Yeah. So that one of the themes that'll be coming up in Savage Crucible Saturdays once we start getting inventory of the Savage Crucible Frazetta figures would be to do our best to pay homage and recreate the Frazetta artwork as best we can, with our own takes and styles and things like that, and I have fun with that and show our appreciation for it as well,
Yeah, I can't wait to see everybody, like what you guys come up with that stuff.
Yeah, that Warrior Ball and Chain has inspired me. I found out kind of haphazardly that I'm really good at making rocks. So I'm going to try to make a whole
Dude,
mountain.
everybody keeps asking them like if the rocks come with them. You guys should
Yeah,
start the rock.
It's $15.99 on Amazon.
Yeah.
No, but we can put a link in to where they could get some.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually,
Whale.David. Campfire Beer Baker, that guy, he does a lot of outside shots, and his work is just
Elijah's work
flawless.
is always just killer.
Yeah.
all right, that's nice. You guys want to see something?
Creation.
Oh, wait.
Hold on.
Oh, look at that.
That one.
Oh, let's go.
I made sure everybody signed the box.
That's
Definitely.
This one.
That
doesn't
box
have
art
a
is
tape.
beautiful too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh
what
my God.
Yeah,
I'm glad I didn't see that.
That's why I got multiples.
Yeah.
dude, it's so sick. Yeah, I have this like next to me at all times, pretty much. I showed my parents. I was like, look at what it looks like. There's holy shit. It's like I couldn't have imagined anything better for this character. It's so cool. But I can't wait till all you get this guy to start posing him. But I am not. This Kevin, the sculptor, was like, I wouldn't be mad if you opened that box. Like, I'm not going near.
No, this
That
box
is like my
staying sealed.
collectible one. When we order a bunch of them, I'll open those. But that one's staying where he is, because he doesn't even, that one doesn't have a cape. That is like as collectible as you're getting. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you get. Yeah, it's definitely exclusive.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm so excited for him.
Yeah,
Well, Frankie, man, we definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories and your insight, and we can't thank you enough for keeping the legacy alive, and and sharing that with the rest of the world, and us being able to enjoy it and show some love to you and your family. And we hope you enjoy it as much as we do. And anytime you want to come hang out with us, please hit us up. Or if anything we can do for you to help out the museum, just let us know.
Yeah, anytime that you have something to promote, just let us know. We'll throw up it on IG. We'll share everywhere we can.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no, and thank you guys for helping us with the legacy. It's, again, if it wasn't for fans, I couldn't afford to do any of this. There would be no point to having the museum. So really, thank you and everybody else who helped support us.
No, definitely. And keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're doing an amazing job. You really are.
Appreciate it.
It's you are one of the more genuine people in the world. And
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Keep that up, man. Keep up that positive attitude and being you. And it's refreshing.
Yeah.
Refreshing to
Thanks.
see that.
Yeah.
So, on that note, everybody that's watching this chat or watching this video, thanks for joining us. Leave a comment, hit that like, hit that share, hit that notification bell, and we will see you again next month.
In month.
Have a good night.